There is a quiet war raging inside every human being, a war between purpose and distraction, between mastery and mediocrity, between the mind that commands and the emotion that obeys. And until a man conquers that war, he will live beneath his potential, begging for peace while unknowingly waging battle against himself. The truth is simple, but it is severe. You do not need balance. You need focus. Balance is the language of those who seek comfort. Focus is the language of those who seek dominion. Every great achievement in the history of mankind was born not from balance, but from obsession, from a mind so focused on a definite purpose that every emotion, every thought, every ounce of energy was organized toward a single end. The man who tries to balance everything ends up mastering nothing. The man who focuses on one thing reshapes the world. For life, my friend, does not reward the one who dips his hands into many streams. It rewards the one who dives into one and drinks until he becomes the river. Let this truth take root in your consciousness. The divided mind is the defeated mind. The universe itself bows to the power of a single, unwavering direction. If your thoughts are scattered, your results will be scattered. If your emotions are undisciplined, your destiny will be undisciplined. But when you bring every part of yourself into alignment with one grand aim, when you unite will, reason, and faith into one command, you become unstoppable. That is not philosophy. That is law. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack control. They live by emotion rather than principle. They seek approval instead of mastery. They confuse movement with progress and activity with achievement. Their minds are like wild horses pulling in different directions, ambition forward, fear backward, pleasure sideways, and habit in circles. No empire, no invention, no great fortune was ever built by such a mind. Progress demands direction, and direction demands discipline. You must decide, once and for all, who governs your life, your mind, or your moods. If you allow your moods to dictate your behavior, you are a slave in invisible chains. But if you command your moods through discipline and focus, you become master of fate itself. For emotion is a servant, powerful, loyal, and obedient to command, but deadly when placed upon the throne. This is where emotional detachment becomes your crown. The ability to detach does not make you cold, it makes you clear. It is the separation between you and the storm of feeling that tries to deceive you. It is the difference between the man who reacts and the man who decides. The emotional man is a puppet of circumstance. The disciplined man is an architect of circumstance. The first is ruled by impulse. The second rules through intention. The emotional man is thrown by every insult, rejection, or fear. The disciplined man absorbs them as data, converts them into strength, and moves forward. Hear me clearly. There can be no sustained success without emotional control. Every great leader, every builder of fortune, every titan of innovation has mastered himself before mastering his world. As Hill himself wrote, you cannot control your outer life until you first control your inner conversation. And the inner conversation is always emotional in nature. The undisciplined mind is like an untrained army, loud, scattered, and wasteful. It rushes into battles it cannot win, wastes energy on imaginary enemies, and collapses before the war truly begins. But the disciplined mind, calm, focused, obedient to purpose, wins before the fight starts. It studies the field, it understands cause and effect, and it strikes only when victory is certain. Emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the subordination of feeling to purpose. It is the art of converting passion into power, anger into clarity, and pain into discipline. The emotionally detached individual does not suppress emotion, he directs it. His feelings are instruments of his will, not interruptions of it. He has mastered the alchemy of transmutation, the ability to take every emotional current and channel it into creative force. Consider the law of transmutation. All energy seeks expression. When anger rises, it seeks explosion. When desire burns, it seeks release. When fear shakes, it seeks escape. The average man yields, and the energy escapes unproductively. The superior man redirects the energy toward his work, his vision, his creation. What was once chaos becomes fuel for progress. What was once reaction becomes revelation. To master emotion, you must master space, the space between stimulus and response. The undisciplined reacts instantly, as if pulled by invisible strings. The master pauses, observes, chooses. In that pause, He owns the universe. That pause is the birthplace of power, the quiet laboratory of destiny. In it, you decide whether to respond like a king or a slave. Every pause you conquer is a deposit into the account of self-command. If you would reverse engineer your success, begin here. Rule your reactions. Never give the external world the privilege of dictating your internal state. Do not let noise enter your mind unfiltered. The masses respond to every tone, every criticism, every praise. They rise and fall with the opinions of others. But greatness demands neutrality, the ability to hear both applause and insult and remain unmoved. That is what I call the law of mental neutrality. It is the mental posture of kings, the quiet confidence that neither success nor failure defines the self. The man who can remain emotionally steady when the world praises him, and equally steady when the world condemns him, has achieved mastery. He no longer lives as a pendulum swinging between validation and rejection. He becomes a pillar upon which time itself leans. You must cultivate that neutrality, for without it you will always be reactive. And reaction is the death of creation. Reaction spends energy, response channels it. Reaction is chaos, response is command. Learn to sit still when provoked. Learn to wait when tempted. Learn to breathe when angered. For in the economy of destiny, patience is profit. Let us speak now of definiteness of purpose. Emotional detachment without direction is emptiness. Discipline without aim is tyranny. The mind must serve a master, and that master must be purpose. Without purpose, you will discipline yourself into exhaustion. But when purpose enters the mind, discipline becomes joy, for every act of restraint becomes an act of devotion. Definiteness of purpose is the single idea around which all emotion and thought are organized. It is the magnet that aligns every fragment of your being. Without it, you will drift. With it, you will dominate. A definite purpose transforms chaos into order, confusion into confidence, hesitation into decision. Most people speak of balance because they are afraid of focus. They fear that focusing on one thing will cost them something else: leisure, approval, comfort, or safety. And so they aim for balance and call it wisdom. But balance is often disguised fear. Focus is faith in action. The man of focus knows that sacrifice is not loss, it is exchange. He trades the trivial for the timeless, distraction for destiny. Do not misunderstand me. Balance has its place in physical health and emotional recovery. But in the realm of creation and achievement, balance is mediocrity in disguise. The creator must be consumed. The inventor must be possessed. The visionary must be obsessed. For the fire that builds worlds cannot coexist with lukewarm intention. Half-hearted effort, Hill warned, produces half-hearted results. If you would touch greatness, give yourself entirely. The price of focus is detachment. Detachment from what does not serve the vision, from opinions that do not align with the purpose, from fears that do not build the future. Focus requires saying no 1,000 times so that one yes can change the world. And that yes must become your prayer, your plan, your obsession, your discipline. When purpose becomes obsession, emotion becomes servant. You no longer react to circumstance. Circumstance reacts to you. You become, as Hill described, a mind wrapped in a definite idea, vibrating with faith. And faith, when combined with discipline, moves mountains not because mountains are fragile, but because law responds to command. Every emotion you experience is an opportunity to train the mind. Anger trains patience. Fear trains courage. Doubt trains faith. Boredom trains initiative. In every emotional storm, there lies a lesson of power waiting to be claimed. The question is not, how do I stop feeling? The question is, how do I direct this feeling toward my purpose? Do you understand what this means? It means that success is not a matter of external control, but of inner calibration. When your internal system runs by law, when emotion obeys thought, and thought obeys purpose, your life becomes predictable, orderly, and effective. You no longer chase results, you cause them. You no longer seek motivation, you manufacture it. You no longer fear outcomes, you design them. That is the law of cause and effect in its highest form. The recognition that thoughts, emotions, and actions form an unbroken chain of creation. Break that chain through reactivity, and you fall. Strengthen it through discipline, and you rise. It is not luck, it is law. The undisciplined live by feeling first, thought second, purpose last. The disciplined reverse the order. They begin with purpose, translate it into thought, and charge it with emotion. That is the structure of creation. That is how every empire, every fortune, every masterpiece was born. Purpose gives direction, thought gives design, and emotion gives life. But only when each is in its proper place does power flow unobstructed. Therefore, my friend, if you would master your destiny, start not by trying to balance your life, but by aligning it. Let your mind become a single arrow aimed at your grand aim. Let your emotions become wind behind it, not storms around it. Let your habits become rails on which the arrow flies. Focus is not exclusion, it is concentration. It is the decision to give everything to one thing until that one thing gives everything back. You must now ask yourself, what will I give my life to so fully that nothing remains to divide me? For once that decision is made, the rest is mechanics, discipline, patience, faith, detachment. Focus simplifies life because it ends the war within. It channels all energies toward a single command. When that alignment is achieved, you will not need balance for. Your life will no longer be split between duty and desire, work and rest, ambition and peace. You will become the embodiment of equilibrium through purpose. Balance is achieved not by dividing time, but by uniting intention. And when that happens, success is no longer pursuit. It is a natural consequence. You will walk through this world with an invisible gravity. You will no longer chase opportunity. Opportunity will orbit you. You will not need to prove yourself. Your results will speak in the language of inevitability. For that is the secret Napoleon Hill tried to teach those who could hear. Control your mind, and you control the universe. Every powerful life is forged in the furnace of discipline. There is no other way. The mind must be heated by challenge and hammered by repetition until it takes the shape of purpose. And yet most people flee that furnace, mistaking its fire for punishment. They do not see that discipline is the blacksmith of destiny. It burns away weakness, melts resistance, and welds the fragments of your personality into one indestructible whole. You cannot balance your way to greatness. Balance asks, how do I stay comfortable? Discipline asks, how do I become capable? Comfort preserves the present. Discipline creates the future. Every man must decide whether he prefers the illusion of peace or the power of progress. The disciplined mind understands that success is a system, not a sensation. It does not chase motivation, for motivation is the weather of the spirit. It changes with the season. Instead, it builds rhythm. Rhythm outlives emotion. When your actions become rhythmic, you no longer rely on willpower. You rely on law. Law does not ask how you feel. It demands only that you act. And in that obedience to principle, freedom is found. Focus is forged through refusal. You cannot hold the sun in your hand, but you can shape it through a lens. That lens is discipline, the decision to say no to 10,000 distractions so that one purpose may burn bright enough to light the world. Each refusal strengthens your will. Each indulgence weakens it. Every distraction answered is a brick removed from the fortress of your focus. Every distraction denied is a stone added to it. You will notice that the world will resist your discipline. It will mock your silence, tempt your attention, and reward your inconsistency. That is because mediocrity feels safest when you resemble it. To discipline your mind is to rebel against the collective hypnosis of distraction. It is to declare, my attention is my kingdom, and I will no longer let others rule it. Understand this law. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is divided, your results are divided. If your attention is constant, your destiny is constant. Attention is creative energy in concentrated form. When it is scattered, it produces noise. When it is focused, it produces miracles. Self-discipline begins with thought selection. You cannot always control the first thought that enters your mind, but you can control which thought you entertain. Most people let the mind run like a stray dog through the alleys of negativity. The master calls it back, trains it, and teaches it where to dwell. This training requires vigilance, for every undirected thought multiplies. A single undisciplined thought breeds 1,000 like itself until the mind becomes a jungle of contradiction. You must prune that jungle daily. Question every idea that weakens you. Challenge every belief that contradicts your purpose. Replace every fear with fact, every doubt with discipline. The act of thinking accurately is an act of courage, for it requires that you abandon the comforting lies of emotion. Emotion always exaggerates. It paints failure as fatal and difficulty as doom. But the disciplined thinker sees through the fog. He asks, what is the law here? What cause has created this effect? What action will reverse it? He replaces panic with precision. That is accurate, thinking the mind's ability to measure reality without distortion. From accurate thinking arises calmness. Calmness is not the absence of emotion, but the symmetry of it. When your inner forces are aligned, you do not feel the need to prove or react. You simply act. This state cannot be faked. It is earned through daily discipline. Every time you remain composed in adversity, you harden the steel of your character. Every time you yield to impulse, you soften it. Strength of mind is cumulative. It compounds like interest. The smallest act of control today becomes moral credit tomorrow. Now let us speak of autosuggestion, the invisible drill sergeant of the subconscious mind. Whatever you repeat with emotion becomes instruction. The subconscious does not argue. It executes. If you continually tell yourself, I am overwhelmed, it builds chaos. If you declare, I am calm and deliberate, it builds order. Words charged with emotion are blueprints for destiny. Therefore, guard your internal language as you would guard the treasury of a nation. Discipline your speech to reflect command. Say nothing that weakens your own authority. Never confess limitation, affirm law. Say, I am learning to control instead of, I can't help it. Say, I am directing my mind instead of, my mind runs wild. Every phrase is a command and every command is a cause. When you speak with authority, the subconscious salutes and obeys. Autosuggestion becomes powerful only when joined with emotional detachment. If you declare prosperity while fearing poverty, fear cancels the order. The subconscious obeys the stronger vibration. Therefore, detach emotionally from doubt before you affirm success. Speak from certainty, not from desperation. The universe does not respond to begging, it responds to belief. The disciplined individual learns to live by cause and effect rather than hope and chance. He understands that every emotion is a potential cause and every action an inevitable effect. He treats his moods as engineers treat measurements precisely, impersonally, according to law. When fatigue appears, he adjusts rest, not ambition. When frustration arises, he adjusts method, not mission. He no longer personalizes the storm, he studies it. That is emotional intelligence, in its highest form intelligence applied to inner climate. Detachment also grants resilience. When you are detached, you cannot be insulted into weakness or praised into arrogance. You see both as weather passing over the mountain of your purpose. Flattery and criticism are both noise. Discipline listens only to direction. The man who needs approval is owned by whoever gives it. The man who approves of his own direction cannot be owned at all. Let us return to focus, for focus is the discipline of energy. Imagine light dispersed across a room, it warms nothing. Focus that same light through a lens, and it ignites fire. Your mind is that light. Concentrate it on one aim, and it burns through obstacles. Divide it among 100 interests, and it loses all heat. Therefore, gather your forces daily. Withdraw energy from the trivial. Simplify your ambitions until they fit into a single definite purpose. That purpose will become the gravitational center of your life, and every thought will orbit it. You must also discipline your environment, for environment is silent suggestion. Your surroundings whisper constantly to the subconscious. Clutter whispers confusion. Noise whispers urgency. Order whispers calm. Choose surroundings that reflect your future, not your past. Associate with those who challenge your focus, not those who dilute it. Energy is contagious. Protect yours as sacred flame. Discipline of the body reinforces discipline of the mind. Routine is physical autosuggestion. When you rise early, train consistently, and keep order, the body becomes servant of purpose. Sloth breeds fog in thought. Vigor breeds clarity. Feed the machine of the body with the same respect you feed the machinery of thought. Both are instruments of the same destiny. In mastering discipline, beware of the illusion of control through tension. True control is relaxed precision. The bow that is drawn too tight breaks. The mind that is strained too hard snaps. The master holds tension and release in perfect ratio. He works with intensity, but lives with ease. His calmness is his efficiency. When you are tense, you waste energy fighting yourself. When you are calm, every movement multiplies its effect. This is the paradox of mastery. Detachment produces intensity. Because you are not afraid to lose, you can give everything. Because you no longer seek balance, you find rhythm. The mind that fears exhaustion is exhausted already. The mind that is focused forgets fatigue. Focus is fuel. It converts time into achievement. Every evening, review your day, not as a judge, but as an engineer. Ask, where did I lose focus? What emotion ruled instead of obeyed? What thought served no purpose? Record it, refine it, repeat the correction tomorrow. This is the daily audit of mastery. A man who improves by 1% each day will, within a few years, command a destiny unrecognizable to those who once knew his weakness. Finally, discipline requires faith, faith that invisible effort builds visible empire. The results you desire may delay, but law does not fail. Every act of restraint plants an unseen seed. When patience matures, results appear suddenly, and the world calls it luck. But you will know it was law. And so I tell you again, you do not need balance, you need focus. For balance divides, focus unites. Balance seeks safety, focus seeks mastery. Balance asks, how do I feel? Focus asks, what must I build? The man of balance lives pleasantly. The man of focus lives powerfully. Choose once, and the rest of life will obey that choice. The greatest empire you will ever build is not made of stone, steel, or currency. It is the empire of your inner world. Within that invisible kingdom lies every cause that determines every visible effect. Until you master that realm, you are at the mercy of forces that masquerade as fate. But the moment you command it, you transcend the limits of environment, chance, and emotion. For man is not the product of circumstance. Circumstance is the echo of man's inner condition. The average person lives as a reaction to his own emotions. He believes that life happens to him, unaware that every experience is magnetized by his state of consciousness. When he is fearful, he attracts what confirms his fear. When he is doubtful, he meets proof of doubt. When he is calm, creative, and directed, he attracts cooperation from life itself. This is not mysticism, this is mental mechanics. You do not get what you wish for. You get what you are prepared to command. The first law of command is awareness. You cannot control what you do not observe. Most people move through their days half asleep, reacting, repeating, regretting, but never watching. Awareness must become your first discipline. Observe your thoughts as if they were clouds crossing a vast sky. Observe your emotions as weather transient, passing, never permanent. This awareness creates separation, and separation gives birth to control. The moment you can say, there is anger arising instead of I am angry, you have taken the first step from slavery to mastery. Awareness gives you leverage. Once you observe your inner patterns, you can predict them. Once you can predict them, you can redirect them. The man who knows his own reactions in advance cannot be manipulated. The salesman of mediocrity cannot sell him distraction. The mockery of the crowd cannot pull him off his path. He becomes calm, not by withdrawal, but by understanding. Calmness is born not of indifference, but of insight. When awareness matures, it must evolve into intention. Awareness without direction becomes self-absorption. Intention gives awareness a target. It turns observation into creation. Decide what kind of man you will be in every situation before the situation arrives. Decide how you will think under pressure, how you will speak when provoked, how you will act when challenged. The undisciplined man waits for the storm to decide his course. The master sets his sail before the first wind blows. This is the essence of response over reaction. Reaction is the instinct of survival. Response is the strategy of success. Reaction is primitive. Response is prophetic. The reactive man defends his emotions. The responsive man directs them. He sees that emotion is neither enemy nor ally until he gives it command. Emotion is energy. Discipline decides its destination. You must understand this. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. Detachment is what allows you to choose the proper response while others drown in impulse. Detachment gives you time, and time gives you power. A split second of delay between emotion and action can change the entire outcome of your life. That second is the throne of your power. From it, you can choose whether to destroy or to build, to curse or to bless, to yield or to advance. Every king rules through timing. So must you. Once you establish this command, your mind becomes a tool rather than a tormentor. Thought is no longer a wandering servant, but a disciplined general. You begin to see patterns where chaos once reigned. You begin to think in cause and effect, not in emotion and chance. You see that the universe itself is not emotional, it is ordered. It rewards structure, not sentiment. It obeys direction, not desire. The one who commands the inner world lives in harmony with this universal order. He does not fight the laws of life, he aligns with them. He understands that the mind, when governed by principle, becomes an instrument of law. That is why the disciplined thinker appears prophetic. His predictions are simply accurate reading of cause and effect. The undisciplined man blames luck. The disciplined man understands law. Now let us refine this command further. The inner world consists of three realms: thought, emotion, and will. Thought is the architect. Emotion is the fuel. Will is the engineer. When these three act together, reality is shaped. When they act separately, chaos ensues. Most people let emotion dictate thought, and thought paralyze will. They think only when they feel, and they act only when they are certain. The master reverses the order. He decides with will, directs with thought, and charges it with emotion. Emotion follows command, not command emotion. The greatest thinkers of history, the Carnegies, the Edisons, the Hills, the Franklins, all possessed this symmetry. They lived with intensity but without imbalance. They were moved by purpose but not enslaved by it. They could think clearly even when surrounded by chaos because their emotions obeyed their intellect. This is not luck, this is training. The training begins in silence. Spend time each day in mental solitude, not the solitude of loneliness, but of leadership. Sit with your thoughts and observe the chatter of the mind until it slows. Then, direct it. Visualize your purpose vividly. Speak your intentions quietly. Feel their reality deeply. In that silence, you are programming the subconscious mind, the silent machinery of creation. Every image you hold in that stillness becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of the unseen. But remember, a distracted seed never grows. If you plant an idea today and dig it up tomorrow with doubt, you abort the process. The subconscious requires persistence of focus. It obeys emotional intensity multiplied by consistency. The moment you waver, you reset the clock. The moment you persist without emotional interference, the law goes to work. This is why emotional detachment is so vital to creation. Detachment keeps your hand steady on the lever. It prevents panic when results delay. The undisciplined thinker plants a seed, then screams at the soil for progress. The master plants, waters, and waits. He knows that the law is mathematical. He knows that time is a function of process, not emotion. Detachment gives you faith because it removes dependency on evidence. Evidence follows belief, not the reverse. The man who waits to feel successful before acting will never act. The man who acts as if success were inevitable will feel it soon enough. Feelings are servants, let them trail your will, not lead it. Let us pause and understand faith as a mental discipline. Faith is not the denial of reality. It is the mastery of possibility. It is the act of believing the invisible law more than the visible delay. When you know that your inner command will, in time, materialize its outer reflection, you cease to beg and begin to build. Faith is the bridge between thought and result, crossed only by the calm. The calm man walks steadily while the world runs in circles. The emotional man burns energy in reaction. The disciplined man stores it in composure. The calm man can think when others tremble, can plan when others panic, can act when others freeze. That is why the calm man wins in every field. Calmness is not a personality trait, it is a strategy. It is the trained response of a mind that has seen through the illusion of crisis. You must train calmness like a muscle. Begin with small irritations. When you lose your temper, stop and review it later. Ask, what story did I believe in that moment? Every anger is a belief in disguise. When you uncover the belief, you dissolve the trigger. Over time, the same insult that once wounded you becomes irrelevant. This is progress, not apathy. You are not numbing yourself. You are freeing yourself. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you please. It is the ability to remain undisturbed no matter what occurs. The man who cannot control his inner weather is a prisoner, even in luxury. The man who can stand unmoved amid storms is king, even in scarcity. There is no balance between weakness and power. There is only choice. You cannot be half disciplined, half distracted, half committed. You must choose mastery again and again until it becomes nature. Each time you choose response over reaction, you engrave a new law upon the soul. Eventually, it becomes automatic. The disciplined mind becomes its own environment, stable, silent, sovereign. And when that happens, focus ceases to be effort. It becomes identity. You no longer try to concentrate. You are concentration. You no longer fight emotion. Emotion serves you. You no longer seek balance. You are equilibrium. This is the ultimate detachment, not from life, but from chaos. You will know you have reached this stage when distraction no longer feels tempting, when criticism no longer stirs emotion, and when waiting feels as productive as action. You will see that peace was never a reward, it was a prerequisite. The calm mind does not chase success, it creates it by law. For life, my friend, is not random, it is responsive. It echoes the vibration you maintain most consistently. The emotional man lives in constant oscillation and therefore attracts instability. The disciplined man lives in steady rhythm and therefore attracts inevitability. Focus creates gravity. Distraction dissolves it. Command your inner world, and the outer must obey. That is law, not philosophy, not faith, but the mathematics of the spirit. The disciplined mind becomes the architect of its own reality. It designs with thought, constructs with faith, and fortifies with patience. The undisciplined mind, by contrast, builds without blueprint. It reacts, it improvises, it collapses. To master yourself is to graduate from laborer to architect, from follower to creator. Every thought becomes a brick, every emotion the mortar, every act the laying of foundation. And if you would build a structure that outlasts time, you must begin with the right material, focus. Focus is not intensity alone, it is organization. It is the deliberate arrangement of attention around a single cause. The focused man lives by design, not by drift. He does not juggle, he builds. He does not balance, he aligns. In him there is no divided loyalty, no secret war between desire and discipline. All energies move in one direction, and that direction is progress. To create unstoppable success, you must first destroy internal contradiction. Every divided intention weakens will. Every half-hearted commitment drains faith. The mind that doubts its own direction leaks power like a cracked engine. You cannot command what you secretly question. Therefore, settle the question once and for all. Decide what you will serve. The moment of decision is sacred. It divides the life of wandering from the life of purpose. When you decide absolutely, you awaken the forces of the subconscious. It begins to rearrange thought, habit, emotion, and environment to align with the decision. The undecided man sees nothing but obstacles. The decided man sees only sequence. The difference is not chance, it is focus embodied. Once decision is made, discipline must follow. You will not always feel strong, you will not always feel inspired, but you must always act according to law. The law is simple, cause and effect. Thought is cause. Action is effect. You do not wait for the mood to act. You act to create the mood. The average man allows feeling to govern motion. The master allows motion to generate feeling. Action is the spark that ignites faith. Self-discipline is not denial, it is precision. It is the art of investing energy where it multiplies rather than leaks. The disciplined person asks not, "What do I want right now?" but "What produces return?" The return may not be immediate, but law ensures it is certain. You are always paid in proportion to your mental order. Confusion pays chaos. Clarity pays control. There will be moments when the outer world mocks your calm, when impatience whispers, "Move faster." Remember this: nothing grows from panic. The seed planted in stillness bears fruit in its time. The impatient man digs up his harvest to measure progress. The wise man tends his field and waits. The law of germination is not altered by anxiety. The law favors order, not urgency. In this order lies what I call emotional sovereignty. The man who has mastered emotion no longer negotiates with circumstance. He lives from center, not from surface. Circumstances shift like tides, but the sovereign mind remains unmoved. He does not explain himself to noise, nor argue with chaos. He understands that reaction feeds distraction. He saves his power for creation. This sovereignty radiates outward as presence. The focused man enters a room, and the atmosphere adjusts to him. His calm is contagious. His conviction creates gravity. He does not chase influence, he emanates it. People trust him because he does not flinch. He does not promise, he executes. He does not speak of balance because his life is built on harmony, the harmony of intention, thought, and execution. Harmony is not the balance of opposites. It is the synchronization of forces. When your desires, thoughts, and actions sing the same note, the world amplifies your music. The scattered produce noise, the aligned produce melody. Your results are simply the echo of that harmony. To reach this state, discipline your imagination. See yourself not as you are, but as you must become. Speak to yourself as the man who already holds the throne. Walk as he would walk, decide as he would decide, endure as he would endure. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. Every action today is an audition for your future self. When performance and imagination align, destiny confirms the role. Do not mistake calmness for inactivity. The mind that is still within may move mountains without. The strongest current flows beneath the surface. The calm man appears slow only to the impatient. In truth, he is deliberate. Every step he takes lands exactly where it must. He wastes nothing, loses nothing, forgets nothing. Efficiency is the offspring of calm. Understand this: your greatest competition is not another person. It is the noise in your own mind. The undisciplined mind is the saboteur of success, whispering excuses, replaying fears, projecting failure. The disciplined mind observes the noise, allows it to pass, and proceeds. The difference between genius and mediocrity is not intelligence, it is attention. The genius gives his mind one task and completes it. The mediocre gives his mind 10 and finishes none. To achieve unstoppable success, you must become a man of few targets but infinite effort. Concentration multiplies output. You cannot strike 100 small blows and expect the mountain to crack, but strike the same spot with unwavering force, and the rock yields to precision. Life itself yields to precision. The focused individual understands that his environment is reflection, not resistance. When obstacles appear, he studies them as a craftsman studies material. Every challenge has shape and grain. Strike against it blindly and it resists. Understand it and you can carve it. The law of the universe favors understanding. Obstacles do not block the path. They are the path refined. Once you have mastered inner focus, outer results become inevitable. The world is drawn to order. People, opportunities, and resources orbit the man whose mind is organized. Chaos gravitates toward chaos. Creation gravitates toward command. The same law that governs magnetism governs destiny. You do not attract what you wish for, you attract what you are structured for. Therefore, build structure within. Rise at a fixed hour. Think at a fixed time. Reflect at a fixed moment. This regularity forms the rhythm of power. A mind that operates in rhythm becomes predictable to the subconscious and trustworthy to the universe. In that predictability lies peace. Peace is not laziness, it is the ultimate weapon. Peace allows you to see clearly when others panic. Peace keeps you in motion when others freeze. Peace converts time into leverage. When you are peaceful, your energy doubles because none is wasted in turbulence. The calm man does twice the work with half the effort, for his mind moves in straight lines while others spiral in circles. When your inner world reaches this level of command, you will no longer measure progress by visible milestones. You will feel it. You will sense the law working through you. You will notice that doors open quietly, Obstacles dissolve naturally, and results arrive without resistance. You will stop calling it success and start recognizing it as inevitability. For focus, once mastered, eliminates struggle. You cease to wrestle with time, money, or opportunity. You begin to collaborate with law. You become part of the intelligence that governs the universe itself. You realize that success was never something to be acquired. It was something to be remembered, the remembrance that all power already resides in a disciplined, directed, detached mind. And so, I leave you with this. Balance is the refuge of those who fear greatness. Focus is the covenant of those who choose it. The world will try to scatter your attention, to pull your gaze in 1,000 directions, to seduce you into reacting. Resist. Guard your mind as the fortress of creation. Every day, return to the throne of thought and declare, I command my mind. I govern my emotions. I master my energy. I live by law, not by impulse. I move with purpose, not permission. Repeat it until the world adjusts to your command. Speak it until silence answers in affirmation. Live it until your life itself becomes the proof. For you do not need balance, you need focus. Not the balance of hesitation, but the focus of precision. Not the balance of comfort, but the focus of conquest. Not the balance of moderation, but the focus of mastery. Focus until your emotions obey you. Focus until your thoughts align with you. Focus until the world bends around you. Then, and only then, will you see that success is not a dream to chase. It is a mirror that reflects the mind of the one who finally, fully, and fearlessly took command of himself.